if we want to keep it for later. Okay. So whatever you want to keep your eyes open or closed, you choose. But what I would love to get into a core state, right? So take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, just get as much as possible into what I call a theta brainwave pattern as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's a place where you, from a very deep place, you from a heart place, from a core place, you design the business that you really want, and you design it very much in that flow, that this is going to be something you're so excited about creating and seeing this develop under your hands. It's going to be like almost like birthing a new project, a new business that is so exciting for you to do that. And it takes several steps to get there. So it's not like what we're designing today is going to be the end all or anything like that. It's just getting you started, and going and making a new way of profiting, a new way of living, a new way of touching what you really want to touch. So when you go for that place, is there something from a heart spawn that you say, this is a message that if you would shout it from the rooftop, give it one message that you would want to give to this world at this point? What would one of those messages be? You may have two or three, but what would be one very important message that you want to give?
Choices do matter.
Okay, tell me a little bit about that.
Wow, I don't know if I could do this right now. Because I just went from thinking about business to thinking about, I don't know, kind of a choice I regretted.
Okay, tell me what it is. If you want to, it's up to you.
Not being tenacious enough to keep myself out of a lie, to see it before, sense it before it was a lie that came to fruition.
Okay.
And this is essentially a lie that came from the executives that were in my restaurant, the owners. And basically when I was hired, they told me that I could count on them and that they had, X, Y, and Z investments to back up the investment in the restaurant we had just opened.
Right.
And, therefore rest assured that we're going to be here for a while. And I carried that lie along with me and went through the hiring and training process with, 100+ people. And I was one of two that were continuing this lie that, once I found out about it, it just drove me almost into the ground. It amplified my drinking to the point where I was literally just unpleasant, I felt unpleasant in my own skin.
When did you find out about the lie?
About a year and a half after we opened. So this was 2014, 2015. Yeah, 2015.
So what do you regret most around that whole situation?
Trusting someone I didn't have enough information about.
Yeah, and what did that have to do?
Someone, and I mean, someone as a corporate entity, not even an actual person. That's the Middle East over there. They hide behind their corporate entities. They're anyway. Sorry.
No, it's okay. You trust that. So that was a whole shock and trauma, right? For that, was there a person there, or was it just an entity? There's a person too, right, behind that?
Yeah, partners, and yeah. So there was an entity there, but when it comes down to taking responsibility, no one wants to take responsibility, so they just shift it around. So, for me, when I found out, I'll just go tell you what I did when I did find out about the lie. I did go out and get pretty intoxicated, and then went to work late the next day, which was pretty embarrassing. But I literally told my whole staff. I called them up and told them personally what I'd found out and what had happened and how it made me feel, and I wanted them to know, that because of that lie, that I no longer trusted the company that we all worked for, and I basically told them to go find other jobs if they felt it necessary. But still.
So what happened? Did they?
I did.
You did. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you leave right away?
No, I stayed on until 2017. Okay. Trying to make it a better situation, trying to fix the situation, with investors, trying to fix the situation, like wake up and see the light, guy. You got all these people standing in your investment and producing a product daily for customers and making you a return on your investment, and you don't have the wherewithal to tell them the truth, or even to be transparent enough to show them the scale and scope of your business aspirations that you have coming up. And that was just so frustrating and annoying.
So was this against you, or was it against, or these are just the way people, the way they act? It is normal.
I wouldn't say it's the way they act.
So that's pretty strong. So
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead. What are you gonna say?
No, I just didn't. Going over to the Middle East, I said to myself, I'd like to go to Dubai. I said that I think a year before I actually went, and I just didn't do enough research as to what I was getting into when I went to Dubai. I took everything at kind of face value, and I just feel burned, I guess, or felt burned.
Yeah. It almost feels like.
And then being a part of it, I'm not saying that I haven't lied, or I was young, like like everybody else.
Right.
We all made mistakes, and we all, hopefully learned from them. Mm-hmm. But
so
that's not me now. That hasn't been me for a very long time.
Before you go there, are you ready to let go of all the trauma around that circumstance, the guilt, the trauma, the bad around it? You want to let go of all of that?
I am.
Okay.
But I think that trauma is connected to other trauma, and that's another reason I'm going to go see my friend.
Okay, let's go there in a second. First of all, I almost want to have you're comfortable with God, right? With talking about God, right?
I'm sorry?
Are you comfortable with me talking about God? Because I almost would love to download.
Absolutely.
Okay, I thought so. But I would almost love for you to start allowing more of God's knowledge and understanding and perspective on the situation to come into you. Would you like that? Just be more. Okay, let's really download that as much as we can in this. So what is the one thing that was good about the situation that you either learned or lesson or value, or what was good about it? What's been good about it?
What was good about it? I mean, after I processed the information and then told my staff, what had happened.
Mm-hmm.
I felt relieved at that moment, especially when they all looked at me and they were like, Chef, don't worry about it. You know, we're behind you. Thank you for being honest, and, you know, so on and so forth. Just all the things that anybody would want, you know. And I felt happy that, you know, they weren't so upset, not as upset as I thought they would be. Well, what do I take from this situation? Just do more research. That's all. More research.
Almost, I also get like that you would never, the experience is so, I don't think you would have done it in the first place, but this actually probably made it even stronger for you to only start working with people who are in full integrity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Determination.
Exactly.
Okay, so what does it have to do with the other trauma or the other, and why you're going back to this, seeing this friend? Because I feel like that's starting to resolve.
Well, the other trauma, and I've literally never told anybody this. So when I joined the Marine Corps, way back when I was, you know, straight out of high school, I had a decision to make, and I had to make a decision between basically my grandfather and my stepfather. And that decision was who to come home for if they pass away. And that was hard for me because when I was young, my biological father took off and left my mom and I kind of on our own. And obviously friends and family, you know, kicked in and helped us out. And, you know, my grandfather was a big part of that. And then when she did meet my stepfather, who now I call my dad and have always called him my dad because he adopted me. But when it came time to make the decision on who I had to come home for, I chose my stepfather because he was a first responder, police officer for 35 years. And, you know, if he was hurt in the line of duty, I wanted to be able to come home and take care of my mom, you know, and be there for her. And it was also important for me to come home for my grandfather if he had passed away, because he was my grandfather and he stepped in to fill the void, you know, when my sperm donor of a father left. And did an amazing job. He paid for surgery so I could hear. He was just there to support. So when he passed away 2 years later after joining the military, I kind of got denied to go home and see him. And the reason I was denied to come home to see him was because they couldn't find paperwork. And if I skip back to the day of the signing, my final decision when I joined was to be able to come home for my dad in case he was killed in the line of duty. Because I was told, because my grandfather was an officer in the Navy, that it was automatic that I would have to come home, that it's mandatory. So I took him at that and chose my stepfather or my dad to come home for. And then when my grandfather passed away and I was denied, I basically shut down. I was on ship in the middle of the Mediterranean and had to go process everything kind of by myself.
How did he pass away?
Um, he had a type of, it was like Lou Gehrig's disease or something similar.
Okay. So was it unexpected or was it a slow
It
expected?
was slow. It was super slow. But when I got the notification that he had passed away, and I had an opportunity to talk to my first sergeant, and told him, I was like, look, when I joined, I was told this, and he was an officer, and I want to go home. And literally, it was like crickets in the room. Nothing ever happened. I saw for another month and a half, 2 months, people coming and going, from having to go to funerals or go see family because of an emergency. And I'm like, what happened? Why am I stuck here? How come I have to go through this? All I wanted to do was just go home and stand over my grandfather's grave in my dress blues, and salute him for being him. But I was denied that.
What would you have said to him?
And funny thing is, all that paperwork that wasn't able to be found, I just found like March.
Yeah.
So now I've got to backtrack to try to go back and fix how I left the military. I left the military shortly after getting back off that ship because I went home for a 2-week vacation to be with the family and be together so I can process with them, my grandfather passing away. And shortly after I got home, we were recalled to go back to the same ship, back to the same berthing area, back to the same rack, to go float around Haiti. And I wasn't prepared to do that mentally at the time, and I just couldn't fathom leaving my support group.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't go back. And a few days later, my command started calling, and long story short, I did go back. I did get on the ship. I went down to Haiti, and just went through the motions from there. I wasn't into it. I didn't care, but I still cared about the guys around me. I still cared about the brotherhood, the camaraderie, But the core, I was devastated.
What do you?
So when we got back, I was put into the brig, and I was there for a few months before I went to court. And my lawyer basically said, if you want to stay in, you can stay in. And I was like, I've told you what had happened. I've told you how I joined the service. And when it came right down to it, nothing happened. And I'm standing here, the shell of a person that I used to be, with no motivation to be a part of this anymore, because you essentially lied to me. Not you personally, but the core. That's how I saw it, as a 21-year-old. What did I know? So instead of fighting to stay in, I just rolled over and said, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. You lied to me. And then I got processed out.
Mm-hmm.
And the last thing my lawyer said to me is like, you just made the worst decision of your life. You're always going to regret it the rest of your life.
Have you?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Mm.
But at the same time, if I were to stay in, I probably wouldn't be here today.
Right. So why do you regret? Why do you think you did? That's not a question.
Just all the doors that just never opened. You know, just
What would you have said to
I
your?
often sorry.
No, it's okay.
I'm trying not to get emotional on this one. Sorry.
No, it's fine. Go.
Um,
It's a hard one.
I wanted to stay in. I really did, but I felt completely. I felt like I was in the wrong spot. You know, at that point, once I found out, you know, that I wasn't going to be able to go home, that they're going to keep me, and la la la. I felt the same way as I felt when I was in the Middle East and my company had lied to me. And it
What's
just brought back all that same kind of emotion again.
what's the first time you felt like that? Can you go back? Well, okay, hold on 1 second. First of all, I would love to hear if you would have been able to say anything to your grandfather. What would you have been able to say to him if you would have had an opportunity? Actually go back and be there. What would you have said? What would you have done? You would have said over his grave, but what would you have said to him?
I love you. Thank you.
Or
I got it from here.
thank you for what?
For being him. For being the warm, kind-hearted, loving person that he was.
Mhm.
He never really said too much. But when he did, there was always weight behind it.
Mhm.
I miss his deliverance of anything he said.
Oh, really?
I just listened intently. Far cry from my relationship with my stepfather.
Yeah, different, right? And that's okay. I think your grandfather knows. I mean, it's funny thing is I always have the feeling that people live close to us, even our people, our ancestors, they live close. So he knows.
And I totally agree. And when I watched your interview about Daniel, that it made me it made me remember a situation that I was kind of like, man, that just didn't happen. And it goes back to when my friend Nick committed suicide.
Yeah.
I want to say I heard him, but at the same time, I was in kind of like disbelief. But I got what you meant, though. I got what you were saying, and I thought it was a magical. I don't know. Your interview was comforting, to say the least, and I believe that too. You know that they are around us always.
Hmm.
Their energy
Hmm.
constantly.
Yeah, absolutely. And your grandfather feels very close. Um, at this moment, actually, too, he feels very close. And we almost want to just feel that and allow that to happen. That we can talk, right? That's almost one of my strong beliefs. We can talk to people who passed away, and they will feel and they will be there. And I think the more we allow that, the better it can be. Even your friend who committed suicide, that was not a mistake. That you did here, and whatever at that moment we can understand, right? That's okay, but we can go back because it's not like it's gone. It's not like those moments are gone. They're part of it. I would love to just go back, if that's okay for you, for a second to.
Yeah. Sorry, just floating off.
No, it's okay. When people have deserted you, when is the first time you feel like people were deserting you or not there for you? Because it's a theme in your life. besides your grandfather, but there's another theme, right? People are telling lies to you. People are not letting you go to see your grandfather. That's crazy. Right? There's all kind of stuff. When did you feel first like that? Is there one moment in time, like when you were maybe younger, that you could memorize when you felt first time that people weren't there for you? Was it with your dad leaving, or was there something before that?
It's a toss between it's a toss between his father and my dad. So my biological father and my biological grandfather. I remember my biological grandfather more than my dad or
Right.
father. Excuse me. I'm sorry.
How old were you when he left? When your dad left?
2.5, 3.
What do you remember?
So
Anything?
no, just some of the stories that my mom's told me. That's about it.
What would you say to your dad right now, right here, if you had the chance to see him?
I actually had the chance to see him when I was 15. I got an opportunity to see him, and I guess we spent about an hour together, and it ended pretty bad. It was me telling him I never wanted to see him again. Just the classic, you know, from his perspective, she did everything wrong, and I knew that wasn't true.
Mm-hmm.
He just wasn't responsible enough, or didn't have the wherewithal to understand where he was in life. He just made a kid. What do you do? Run away?
Mm-hmm.
No.
You were almost too nice to him. So if you would go back to that moment and you would really be able to say what you wanted to say, what would have been stronger? What would you have said stronger than what you did?
I actually three. The guy didn't even know how old I was, so he picked me up. His name's Gary.
Mm-hmm.
He picked me up from my grandmother's house, and asked me if I wanted to drive. And I was like, 15? Sure, I'll drive. And I knew how to drive, but I just wasn't licensed or didn't have a permit. So we drove, and when we drove back from our meeting, back to my grandmother's house, I tossed the keys over the car at him and called him a few choice words and told him I never wanted to see him again. And that was it.
So what would you, there's something you need to say to him. What would you have said to him?
What would I say now?
Yeah, but what would you have said? Yeah, what would you say now?
Now,
Yeah.
I understand.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Why do I understand? Well, I understand because I've made enough bad decisions of my own, and we all make bad decisions. So, and we all know how important forgiveness is. So I forgive him, you know. I just hope he can forgive himself, even if he cares that much. I don't know. But I wouldn't say anything malice to him.
Why
I've
not?
actually got like two or three other siblings that I've never met.
Why not? Because of him? They're his. Is his family?
No particular reason. Just haven't reached out. I don't know where to reach out, and most of the avenues of approach have passed away to be able to get a hold of them. But
Nice.
let's see what the cards have to hold the next year or so.
I'm getting this image of actually you pushing him and being angry at him. and getting to say almost like I won't curse, but like if you, how dare you ever have done that to me and to my mom? How dare you?
I mean, it affected me. I think it's affected me to this day in the sense that, I don't have kids and I'm not married. I was married, but it was short lived. Um, but
How long were you married?
that's separation anxiety. Mm-mm. Not until I know. Not until I know 100% will I ever have kids. The clock's getting short.
If he would have said, I'm sorry, what would it have done for you? If he really come of that and said, I'm sorry for running away, I'm sorry for, he would have said that. I'm not sure if he will ever say that. He may not. But what would it have done for you?
I don't think he even realizes he did anything wrong,
I know.
to be honest.
What would have done for you if he would have said that?
I don't know.
I think you do. Look into it.
I'm sorry?
Look into it a little bit deeper. If he, I think you do know. If he would have said sorry, what would it have done for you? Or still say, imagine, like, yeah, it's happening. If he would say, I'm sorry, what would it do for you?
I don't know if it'd be a sense of relief or like a sense of accomplishment or, like closing a book, ending a chapter, whatever. But like I said, I've forgiven the situation as best I can without meeting him or my siblings, you know.
Closing it. There's a way of closing. It needs to close for you.
Hmm?
And it needs to close for you. This whole situation of men betraying you needs to
Mm-hmm.
close in your life, right? Because otherwise you're going to keep on hanging on to that. I always want to ask yourself, I would love to see, like, is there anything left that you need to do to close it, or can we just close it here and now and say that's the way it's been? Do you feel like there's something hanging still, or can you feel like it can close for you?
No, I don't think there's anything hanging. Not hanging there. Just that trip down memory lane got me in a kind of a haze.
It's okay. Have you ever written him a letter, your dad?
No.
Would you like to without sending it? I'm going to tell you why. Just one before you make
Mm.
there's something in you, I think, that's still angry at your dad. That I'm getting. I get the forgiveness. I get all of that. And there's something in there. I'm like, if there's still a little bit of, at the bottom piece of you, there's still an anger. And I would like, for love.
I think anger. I think anger is a strong word. Perturbed, maybe a little bit better. But yeah, I think if he did give me a sorry, and if I actually felt him mean it, that would go a hell of a long way.
I'm not sure if he ever will.
Hmm?
Not sure if he ever will. Just sensing into the situation. I mean, I feel your grandfather very, very beautiful and beautiful soul. For him, it just feels like he's so far. He's so far. It's almost
Hmm.
like, how can you close this without and sorry from him right now in this life? Because I mean, one day maybe. I mean,
Hmm.
now 15 years from now, but who in the hell wants to wait for that, right? Because then you're gonna spend another 10 or 15 years. Why, right? That's not worth it.
No, I don't even really want to think about it anymore. I mean, it has weighed on me a lot if I really think about it.
Mm-hmm.
You there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh, my battery's dying.
Well, I almost okay. So I feel it in my gut. So just from the gut feeling, there's something you can express it right now, right here, or you can express it in a letter.
Hmm.
But there's almost like I would love to hear you curse sometimes and say like, or something strong. And you don't have to do it to me. You can do it on paper, whatever you feel comfortable with. But let it out because it's finally. You've never actually, I think, said to him what you really want to say, even as a 15-year-old. You were angry righteously at him, but you never even said then,
Hmm.
right? What is it that you really want to say to him? And when you really just let that emotion come up and say,
Yeah, it's definitely something I don't have to put into a letter.
okay. The minute you do, the minute you're going to do that, what I often say is, how dare you? How I really like, how dare you? That's often how I start those letters.
Hmm.
Start writing it down and then finish it up with, and I forgive you. And that's not for you, that's for me, right? Forgiveness, is always for
Hmm. 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 Hmm.
because it's time to move on. And I forgive you because, and I forgive you because.
Hmm.
And she did amazing without you anyway.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah, I get that. She really did. And I'm still here, and I'm pretty darn awesome at this point. Even when you had nothing to do with that, right?
Hmm.
It's feeling your own because you are. Even with all that crap going on in your life, you survived pretty awesomely, and you did pretty awesome with everything else in your life. Not perfect. You're right. We never do. I don't think you would ever.
This is Earth School. We're not supposed to be perfect.
That's true. We're not supposed to be perfect. And you will never make mistakes like he did.
Yeah, Bible basic instruction before leaving Earth.
That's true. But I want you to almost feel that you will never make decisions like he did. You have made mistakes in your life, but you will never make decisions like he did. And that made
Hmm.
you, but that's what I'm intuitively sensing so strong. You would never totally desert your family. You would never make those decisions in your life, ever, ever. So stop being afraid of that. You're not like him. You've never been that. You never will be.
Hmm.
Yes. More like your grandfather, if anything else. Much more.
That's what everybody says.
Yeah.
But there has been a few times out of anger that I've been compared to him before. So yeah, that kind of echoes in my mind from time to time. Much more as a child, but no, as we grow up and become adults, everything is compartmentalized and shoved here and shoved there, and until the shelf falls down,
Yeah. No, it's
and then you got to put it all back together again.
yeah. Oh, I'm curious because this feels like it's closing up. I feel like okay, the energy's closing, and your phone is almost out of battery too. So, let's close up too. I honestly think. I mean, I love this conversation. I love this spirit. I love everything about it right now because it's so beautiful. And you can let this go and be the man that you are. Oh, and if you have time again tomorrow, Wednesday, but I would love to keep the conversation going because I feel like from this, you will develop your business. It's just right around the corner. The message you have is right around the corner.
But
What?
the big thing, having to go through, 22 years of feeling, no, 23, of feeling like I did something wrong. And trust me, I know when I do things wrong. But
So
that instance, I felt like I was doing everything right. In hindsight, I know that, my instincts at the time weren't as acute as they are now. And, I made the mistake. But the lost paperwork that couldn't be found, and the reason it was lost is because there was a fire in a warehouse where they keep all the records from World War II. That fire happened the year I was born. So I was kind of, I don't know, it feels like I was kind of set up from the get-go. But anyway, but I did find the paperwork that I do need to be able to track down his records that are on microfiche to be able to hopefully fix a decision.
And that can be a sideline in your life. But I would ask.
Mm-hmm.
So when you were a 2-year-old, could you have done anything to prevent your daddy from leaving, even if you were the perfect 2-year-old, which you weren't, but that's okay, nobody is. But even if you would have been a perfect 2-year-old, would he have been able to stay, or would he have left? Just that feeling, that instinct.
Nah, he would have already left. I mean, he cheated on my mom, halfway through the pregnancy. So, by the time I was born, I was just the inconvenience of responsibility that kept nagging at him as he tried to make a new relationship and a new life for himself. So I felt basically young when I first found out, because I've always been told. I felt like I was a piece of trash, and how could he do that?
But did it have anything to do with you? I just want you to completely get yourself out of that picture. I mean, there was
no. 2 years old, you don't even have conscious thought, let alone be able to influence somebody. So, and that. So,
okay. So for a moment, stand for me for a second. Close your eyes for a moment. Just try it for a second. And I want you to stand in front of your grandfather. What would your grandfather say to you at this point in your life? What would he say to you right now?
put it to bed and move on. Don't waste your energy.
Because
It's not gonna fix anything, And I know that's part of the little prison in your brain, just like everybody else.
Yeah, but this is your grandfather talking. So he says, put it to bed. It's not going to fix anything. And what else? Because he has another message for you. What is the next message he has for you?
Go live your life. Put the past to bed.
And when he says, go live your life, what does he mean with that?
Go get the first responders bill written, drawn up, and passed. So nobody else has to go through the decision-making process and disappointment of that decision-making process that I did when I joined. And then go out and have fun discovering more of life and food and family and how to live and love in a positive world, and just go ahead and shut the door on that negative world that you used to live in.
Yeah, go live your life. And that's the feeling I had. Go serve, go make a difference. You have so much more to do. So much more.
Yeah.
I just don't even get exactly what that was, but it felt bigger than the bill. Felt bigger than, it just felt like, go make a difference. You know how to do that. It's almost like you can be guided, right? You can be, I think we can have inspiration every single day from God, but you know how to do that. You know how to. So go and do it.
You broke out. All right.
Sorry. A special grandfather, I said.
Walter.
Walter. Okay, awesome.
Yeah. Grandmother's name was Grace.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hi.
Thanks, Anne-Marie.
You're welcome. Take it. This is beautiful.
Wow.
Talk with it today, because you're closing something here right now, and you.
Can you see? Can you see? I'm trying to fight them back. Go away.
Okay.
They're 50-50 tears. Okay. You know, mostly joy and a little bit of sadness in there. So 60-40.
You're closing a door today, for real. I think it's beautiful what you're doing. So, and I think your grandfather's like, yes. Come on.
Honestly, I honestly, there's probably 20 others behind him.
Yes. Yes.
Cheering too.
Yes.
Cheering too.
Yes, I believe that. Yes, the generations. It's all here. I feel like that I know that, right? Everything that's important right now is happening here on this earth. So yeah, they're all there. So yeah, come on. Make a difference.
Yeah, it's a magical time in the universe.
I think so too. Yeah. I feel that too. I feel like it is. I feel like there is. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people say it's sad, but I think there's a magic there. This change is happening so quickly, and good things happening so quickly too.
Yeah, end of an era, beginning of a new.
So I would say
Cosmic ascension on top of that.
Yeah, do that. I know that. I would love for you to just today, if you can, just start writing out your business. That's kind of my idea for you, is to start writing out your business. I mean,
I'm sorry?
You want to do that? Start writing out your business. Start writing out.
Yeah, I've got myself a new notebook, and I'm starting to do it. So I've got Amari on one side, and I've got business plan on the other side, and I'm trying to meet in the middle.
Okay.
And
I will
go ahead.
Your mission, I feel it's bigger than Amari, but Amari can definitely be part of it, right? Like you will have probably several legs on it. I almost don't want to talk anymore. What I would love for you to do is just to start writing about what you want your business to be like, and have everything be part of it as you go on today. And someone's like, I don't want to say anymore. It's like, I shouldn't say anymore, because this needs to be yours.
No, because honestly, no, and I need to hear it, and I appreciate you saying it. And constantly I'm bombarded all day long about, just ideas and things that pop into my head, and I often have a pen and paper in my hand. But still, you get stuck in that little quagmire, that writer's block, that creative kind of flow doesn't happen.
I know.
Just have it too, big time.
Okay, but no. Okay, but you want to meet again tomorrow? And because I want to just get this going for you. I don't want to wait anymore. I feel like it's so much right there.
Sure. Are you still coming down the 26th?
Yeah, so we're going to look at that too. So yeah, I'm just going it out with my son, so I'm driving up. So
you're driving down here?
It's 12 hours. It's like, okay.
Oh. So. Okay.
I'll drive down. I actually need to be on a call with Jess right now, so I'm gonna actually look forward to that. But write out that business plan and let's talk more tomorrow. Okay? This is exciting. This is fun.
All right.
Okay. Let's get
Thank you. Have a great one. Stay warm.
I will.
Bye bye.